Welcome to our Boardroom Finance Series, Episode 2. Today we are exploring what will shape finance from 2025 into the future till 2030. I'm joined by an incredible panel, Andrew Harding, who is the CEO, Management Accounting, AICPA and CIMA. Welcome, Andrew. And joining him is Gopi Ethamukkalam, Head, Credit Risk Process Excellence and Policy, Shell, giving us insights on talent development. Pushyami Vinapamula, General Manager, Strategy, Ford Motor Company, with Strategic Finance Insights. And of course, Patel, Head of Regional FP&A, HSBC. Welcome.
Thank you.
We'll have a free-flowing conversation about 4 themes and how they intersect with each other. The themes would be basically shaping growth, risk, digital finance, and value creation, and how these are all tied in together, right? So before we start, Andrew, if I can pick your mind on finance leadership today, globally, how are CFOs rethinking capital allocation as growth slows in certain markets, vis-a-vis accelerating in certain markets?
I think you kind of picked it up at the beginning. You said we'll be talking about growth, we'll be talking about developments, technology, and value. It is all about value, and that's what CFOs are looking for. And they're looking for where they're going to get long-term value. That's not necessarily where the growth is occurring. A small percentage growth in a big economy is an awful lot of growth. Again, a large percentage growth in a small economy isn't very much. So you kind of need to work these things out. Equally, you need to work out how long it's going to take an investment to mature, to reap returns, and get all of those things right. There's a whole load of variables going on. What generates the growth? What creates the growth? How does it start? How does it stop? We've seen unstoppable growth in China suddenly contracting hugely. But, sitting at 4%, that's still a huge amount because it's the world's second largest economy. We talk about huge growth in India. That's great. But China had that growth 30 years ago. So China is way, way, way ahead. And where does that rank in against the US? Well, China was hoping to get to US standards of living of 1988 by 2025. They're now saying that's not going to happen, and it's going to take 2030. CFOs I meet in China say it's going to be 2034. And that's, Germany reached US 1988 in 1991, UK and France in the early 2000s. You can see it's a complex picture, and CFOs are balancing all of those things and really trying to see into the future to get those bets moving. And we've got, everyone here's from global companies. They've probably got some really good experience in seeing how this stuff works.
Right. When you talk about growth, you also have to take in the base effect, which is what you just mentioned, right? A large economy like a $21 trillion economy like the US, even if it grows at 2%, is far larger than an economy like India growing at 7.5%. Is that something that resonates with you?
It's not just the economy alone, right? It's also to do with what is actually growing. Is it technology? Is it AI? Is it some other commodity that's unknown, unanticipated, that's coming into the world? And are we ready for it? So how good and how quick you are to adapt to the change. I think we are in the peak of VUCA world that we live in, and metrics, economies might show something, but it can switch very quickly with one new variable coming into the factor as what consumer values most.
Yeah,
right.
And just to add, the only change right now is like uncertainty, right? Uncertainty and change are like kind of interconnected. So it becomes very interesting to cope up with all these dynamics.
Right.
And to the point which she's making, like beginning of this year, we saw like $1 trillion drop in US stock exchange just by a startup called DeepSeek, which pushed the boundaries of the established US AI companies.
Absolutely.
And we have numerous examples this year. So it's definitely more uncertain world, or a VUCA world, I would call it.
Right.
So just to add another dimension to this whole conversation is like how you pursue value, right? And what you see as value is not necessarily seen as value by somebody else. So there's so much of divergence in the investment opportunities, right? So not everybody agrees this is the right strategy for you to invest or right area for you to invest. Somebody says, okay, a sector in a particular value chain is really good to go after and invest. Other companies don't feel so. That the divergence in the thinking amongst the CFOs and industry leaders is also very, very prominent, which means you don't have the same definition or understanding of value today. That is another angle that is creating that complexity. So you have to be really disciplined in terms of what you want to go after, how you define that value, and are you probably convinced amongst yourself, the shareholders, the board, and then you go after those growth opportunities. Yeah. So a growth opportunity that was there 20 years back, the definition of growth opportunity has evolved so much that first of all, what is a growth opportunity by itself is a debate today. So maybe I'll leave it there.
Yeah, I think we see whole industries arising from changes in thinking, don't we? And where's the most innovative thinking coming from? The most innovative thinking in finance, that sort of thing. I'm going to stick my neck out and say traditionally it was Northern Europe, North America, with a bit coming from Australia. Now we're seeing, when I look at where innovation is coming from, it's coming from Asia. It's coming from South Africa. All very, very different. But an awful lot of that is driven by circumstance and driven by what people value. Some of it's driven by climate change. The impacts of climate change are massive in Asia and in Africa, perhaps less so in North America. Although you see generational storms in North America which seem to be ignored. But and that again starts to drive change. It drives what young people perceive to be valuable. Very important.
That's the most important one. Who is our customer? What do they perceive as value?
Right.
Is all I can make money out of.
Correct.
And sustainable growth, in my view, needs to be kind of taken more seriously.
I agree. Great insights. So when we talk about, of course, we spoke about the VUCA world. Now there's this new term called Bani. Let's face it, it's basically a very complex, ever-changing world. Now, given the scenario, and it's not going to end, change is the only thing that's constant, especially in the field of accounting and finance. Andrew, what skill sets do you think that finance professionals need today to equip themselves to ride this wave of disruption and being in a VUCA world?
Well, essentially, your bottom line skill set is the ability to deal with that change, to deal with the ambiguity, to deal with the uncertainty, and it smashes the traditional stereotype of the accountant. But it's all about your ability to see into the future, your ability to build scenarios, and your ability to influence decision making and enable your businesses to make the best possible decisions for the future. And it's great here we've got someone from Shell with us today, because Shell were traditionally the pioneers of scenarios, mountains and oceans, and all of those sorts of things. We even have our London office meeting rooms named after mountains in honour of Shell's mountain scenarios.
Very interesting fact to know as part of this conversation, Andrew.
Right. And how about in Shell? How is Shell, equipping their finance teams to kind of withstand this disruption?
Yeah, I think I can touch upon what's happening in Shell, but maybe also a little bit broadly in terms of what I'm seeing from my peer group, even outside of Shell. Right. So essentially at Shell, I think there's a renewed support from the leadership to go after innovation and embrace technology. Right. So. And I think to a large extent, where a lot of the emails today are also written by AI tools. So support tools are coming in as aiders to help people to actually get the work done productively. But that's actually scratching the surface, Ajay, if you see. But I think what's waiting for us is a big unknown can of worms, because the more we go towards this sort of technological innovations, and then coming back to the point on how all of this helps a CFO to generate value for the organization, identify the right growth opportunities, etc. Then, like Andrew mentioned, I think what is important for us is to stomach all the uncertainty and probably, remove the uncertainty when you probably take it or pitch it to somebody who has to take the decision. But also at the same time, a new angle is going to be introduced wherein this is going to be squared or quadrupled because you have the element of technology coming in, complicating the scenario, because you have so much of information. So what do you do with so much of information? Information that you wouldn't need, information that you wouldn't have accessed in the past. But you have all of those, which means I think you have too many things coming into the cockpit, assuming you're a pilot, right? So can you handle those many variables? So while it removes certain problems, it's going to create other problems. So then I think the role of a finance professional will become more and more challenging, more and more sophisticated. So we need a sophisticated thinking. So that's where we'll have to move towards stepping back from what we've been doing in the past and probably embracing things like integrating the whole organization, bringing in that sophistication in the thinking process.
Yeah, Ajay, when I was training as an accountant, I spent an awful lot of time learning law, accounting standards, auditing standards, tax.
Yes.
That stuff can all be done by AI and technology. It was really hard work learning it. It's all changed, so it's completely worthless. None of it's useful to me today. But it's the interesting stuff now that we can focus on. The idea to think strategically, to be a systems thinker, to be a critical thinker, all of those sorts of things.
I think the shift will be more towards us moving away from controllership to a business partners.
Oh, absolutely.
So you would start working more as business partners into what is the outlook that we need to have, bringing into AI what kind of scenarios and sensitivities that we need to build into it, because AI depends on historical performance and it builds its logics based on what has happened. But how do we give that predictive analysis feed into the AI? That is where I think the shaping of talent should go towards, where new generation should clearly focus on. How do I use my knowledge as a finance professional and build those unforeseen scenarios into the AI and modelings that we build?
The analogy I draw is a role of a CF or a finance lead. In my view, is half of the time spending on the core finance related activities, half of the time spending on managing technology, because that is now very important. And the example Andrew gave, we all have seen as we were preparing for our CIMA and qualifications. But now, if I give my example, I have to unlearn everything and start with topics like data science, machine learning. And I have to assume that I'm just a grad of that, like maybe go 15, 20 years back. And then I think the conversation becomes more interesting, because what she's rightly alluded is there is ample of kind of opportunity which it creates at the same time.
Yeah, so maybe if I can add a little bit to that one, right? So looking at AI, data science, ML, and I'm sure I heard a recent acronym called ASI. I don't know what it is, but it's seeming to be slightly better than AI.
Okay.
There was
Super intelligence.
There was Gen AI, and then agentic
AI,
and then there is ASI.
ASI.
There's also Pi, just personal intelligence or something. I think so. There are many versions of artificial intelligence, but it's actually going to grow at a rapid pace than we can imagine. I think what's important for finance professionals is to be aware of these things, and only to the extent of how you apply them. Because I think I also see a pattern in the industry today that everybody is saying, oh, I want to go learn this, I want to become a data scientist, I want to become an AI expert. No, I think that's probably a wrong signal that I am picking. But rather, where you add more value is actually how you use a tool. If it is a hammer, what do you use the hammer for? That's what you should be knowing. You shouldn't be learning to use the hammer, but telling somebody you should use the hammer like this. This is where I want you to use the hammer.
Right. Yeah. So I think we've seen this through 100 years.
Yeah.
In 2019, CIMA had a centenary, and we went back through all our records. In 1935, our magazine, on its front cover, had accounting machines. Is this the end of the profession? No, it's another tool that we took and a tool that we used, and that's what we do. We take the technology, we use it.
We have something called business architects inside the teams. They are the actual real-time people who have experience in that operations. So even in analytics, in operations side, we bring in that expert person to sit. They don't do the development. They guide them what they're going to use this for. and how they want to have flexibility to manipulate the AI to do things differently. So I don't think finance professionals will completely vanish and this is the end of the world. But will finance become a niche role? Yes. And if you want to be a forerunner in that small pool of people who are being craved for, you have to have cross-functional skills, not just finance. You have to have an up-to-date knowledge of what's happening in your operations, in technology, outside world with competition. Unless you fix all those, you can't build your skill set to be competitive enough in that niche segment.
Correct. So what I understand from this conversation is that if you're into your typical bean counter accountancy and transaction-oriented roles, definitely you stand a chance of becoming redundant. But if you are into more critical thinking and decision making, and more strategy and people-oriented roles is where you can kind of then override this disruption of AI.
We should not underestimate the importance of human AI collaboration.
Correct.
The example he gave is like application, but if I have to apply, I need to know the basics. So that collaboration, like for example, if I'm interacting with ChatGPT 5, which is recently launched,
right?
I need to know how it operates, how the reasoning operates as well. So some level of basic understanding is definitely essential, although we're not expected to go into the details.
Right.
But yeah, that definitely we should become.
The way I like to think of it is, we have a new technological tool. Perhaps not so new, because first AI came out 70 years ago. But the state it's currently in, it's like having a very smart staff member who's also very stupid as well, or not very imaginative. And you have to understand how to deploy that strength, and also to compensate for the weakness. I think if you do that, then we start to get somewhere with it.
Yes, exactly. And the role of finance, as we traditionally see, is more like operating efficiency and driving value. So like human AI collaboration also should enable that, because AI is a good efficiency enabler combined with critical thinking. And one of the articles I read is like the biggest skill we need to have in today's time is surprisingly being more human in the AI world.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But I thought it was interesting you said finance becoming more niche. At the same time, we see the CFO mandate expanding in a way that 5 or 6 years ago was questionable whether that would happen. But we now do see CFO owning an awful lot more space, and effectively becoming the business partner to the CEO.
Yeah. It was traditionally a pillar that grew on its own, and they were more supporting people to take decisions. Now they are part of the decision makers, because they come up with areas where, say, compliance risks. How do you convert it into a financial risk? Only a CFO can think what it can do. If maybe quoting a wrong example for Indian context, the tariffs, right? I suppose the last 2 months, everybody in the US MNCs was sitting inside the CFO's office cracking how to build their strategies around tariffs and what could they do. And it is that CFO organization that becomes critical to give that insights of what dynamics change.
What I'd do if I was looking at tariffs at the moment? I'd treat it like a volatile commodity.
Yes.
You can't do anything else with it, because it's there and it's there. It's just all over the place.
And all the structure that the companies built around low-cost sourcing, and it will impact India too, considering we were one of the low-cost sourcing countries.
So when we talk about disruption, we talk about tariffs, we also talk about regulatory risks, we talk about resilience, and that's what we've seen in certain economies and certain countries, certain companies for that matter, how they have pivoted, to override this disruption, especially of the tariffs. Andrew, how do you see the global regulatory environment shaping the future of finance by 2030 and beyond?
Oh, okay. Well, there's lots of things shifting. You're seeing a rise in national regulators. You're seeing a rise in regional regulators, and you're seeing competition in many ways. The European Union, for decades, has wanted to lead the world. Suddenly, on ESG regulation, it sees an opportunity to do that, so it gets there first. And everyone's going, well, hey, we all trade across the world. We have to meet a standard. If we meet that one, we meet everyone's standard. So the European Union is doing what I call S1, S2 plus. Then China comes in. China also decides it's going to do S1, S2 plus. At the same time, the Americans are going, we don't want to do this. And they're taking great solace when they see people riding back a little bit.
Yeah.
But they're just riding back a little bit. It's a time thing. They're not stopping doing it. And American businesses that are trading globally, in spite of what the government might be talking about, they are gearing up to meet the EU standard, meet the China standard, meet the Japanese standard, the Indian standard, whatever the leading countries are doing, because that's what you have to do to trade. And if you meet those, you're going to be compliant. See, that's kind of where we're going. There's a little bit of regulatory competition going on. I do think eventually it will settle down. The reason why we've got things like S1, S2, and all these other standards is to give the world a framework to work with, and that's we'll go round in circles, and we'll then come round to something which sorts us out. I think one thing to remember is where we've gone in that ESG regulation, everything else.
Right.
It took the accounting standards a century to get where ESG regulations got to in 5 years. That's why it's chaotic. And why do people want to roll it back? Because there aren't enough people who are trained up who understand what they're doing. And it's a real difficulty.
So it's a great point that Andrew made, because if you look at the past trends, there was innovation, and we started thinking about how do I use the innovation, and then there was regulation at some point. Not the space between innovation and regulation was so wide. But look at what's happening today. There's innovation, and then regulation comes right after, immediately. I see this as two things, right? So partly driven by the power of the innovation is so large that it can probably create harm to the human life as well sometimes. So that's one of it. And so there needs to be regulation. And the other one is the proliferation, right? The growth of that innovation is also sometimes I think unconstrained, unlike the past where the innovation was a bit controlled. I feel today the innovation in a few areas are not controlled. There's so many people jumping into it, so there's proliferation of innovation, and you really feel the urge to go back and do the regulation immediately, which means, to your point, going back to your point on regulation impacting the companies, it's going to have a far bigger impact, especially if the innovation is going to come with these two characteristics. Yeah.
And with data analytics and lots of big data companies in play, I think one big risk every one of us in India, cybersecurity.
Yeah, I completely agree.
We haven't yet realized the risks of cybersecurity yet in the country, but the usage of technology is so quick and so fast, and the number of users is so high,
and the guardrails have not been set.
Guardrails have not been set. So, as finance professionals, we have to be creating those strategies to see, am I right in the path to creating the right security and risk management inside my organization? Is anybody thinking, what is the path? What is 1 year, 5 year? What is the path that we are going towards? It may be linked to government, but like how it happened with Facebook, it can go retrospective, right? Regulatory can go retrospective when it is people related.
We are about trust, aren't we? Still have that responsibility in our businesses, even if we are managing a lot of this technology. It feels like it's our responsibility to get that balance.
And I think we play that role of the critic in that forums when we sit, saying, "Hey, you're doing all this. Where are you going to store? How are you going to secure?" These are not the first ones that come into the mind of an IT development lead. But we are the ones going to say, how are you going to protect? Because I need to make sure I provide all this along with my financials, that we are doing all this to sustain.
If we do our jobs properly, I think we're more likely to manage the risks. Yes. And I spent a few years working as a regulator. What I realised was regulators regulate the last crisis. They don't regulate the next one. They never stop the next one. I came to the theory, why do governments create independent regulators? So they have someone to fire rather than themselves when the crisis comes along. The other thing regulators do is they set a floor beneath which standards can't fall. They don't talk about good standards. They just stop it going below.
Yeah.
Where we're working in business, we're actually working to best standards. It's a very different mindset.
because we are not in the thick and thin of the operations. We are like the fly on the wall. So we are seeing the scene open up in front of us and seeing, hey, where can it fall off the table and how do we stop it falling off the table?
Right.
Yeah, and especially cybersecurity with, let's say, if I give India as an example, with a very young and dynamic workforce, that also has to be embodied or kind of imbibed in right from the early stage, because especially from a young workforce who is very tech savvy may not appreciate that he or she may be a victim of cybersecurity, and it also creates a systematic risk across the organization.
But the real risks are also felt by finance in multiple areas. Like, it's not just, when you partner with the businesses or IT, but when you have, let's say, customer facing roles in finance, like for example, somebody who reaches out to get the money from the customers and then apply those payments to, let's say, the customer's invoice or customer account, right? And customer says, okay, so look, I think I've changed my bank details, you have to issue me a refund, and this is the bank. These are our revised bank details. And in my space, where the credit risk space that I'm part of, I'm seeing so many cases where I think the innovation in frauds is extremely difficult to catch. And impersonification of people, sometimes I think you get WhatsApp messages from the CEO of our company. There are voice notes exactly mimicking them. So I think for somebody to be really careful about all these things and also take up innovation while the technology is advancing so fast, I think there's also a little bit of expectation of finance to play ball along with others in the organization in this innovation bubble. But you also have this part of the organization which feels, look, I think these are the downsides, be careful, right? So I think the risks on cybersecurity is, and when we were discussing about some of the critical risks facing functions like credit risk, cybersecurity did show up as one of the key themes there.
Absolutely. I mean, the more we speak about it, the more relevant it becomes, and we realize that how important cybersecurity is, not only globally but also from an Indian standpoint of view, especially because it's not a very mature market, and we are like kind of learning on the fly. So when we talk about finance, now we can't but help talk about digital finance and about data-driven decision making. Traditionally, finance has been all about numbers, but today it's more about insights and how do you use those insights to influence stakeholders to create impact. Andrew, we've talked about AI, blockchain was this huge hot thing a few years back. Of course, we still have to see the implementation beyond insurance and logistics, automation and advanced ERP. What will most shape the finance function globally?
I mean, firstly, any new innovation is the hot thing. Someone said to me, "Has AI eaten blockchain?" Well, no, AI hasn't eaten blockchain, but blockchain's become normalized, and it's not the hot thing it was 15 years ago. But the most remarkable thing I've seen in the last couple of years was visiting a company in China, fast growth tech company. 25 years ago, it was nothing. One of our members, senior member of the finance team, joined 5 years ago, took one look and said, I need to put an ERP system in here. He said, 5 years later, he said, I've realized why we don't have an ERP system. We array systems around a sort of core of knowledge and a core of data, and we keep each of those systems best in class. And we're not held back by an ERP system, which we change every decade. He says, I never want to put an ERP system in ever again. He said, I thought this was going to be my first task. So many of us are still hooked and tied to those ERP systems. I don't know a CFO who doesn't quake in their boots when they I've got to change the ERP system. It's something you don't want to do, but it holds back finance so much. And it was really eye-opening for the first time to see a big successful organisation saying, we've moved on. The ERP system is something of the early 2000s. It's not for us anymore.
From an Indian standpoint, how ready do you feel are Indian organizations to adopt digital technologies at scale? Not in isolation, but at large, basically.
I think at this point of time, there is an awareness more from an AI and digital adoption. The implementation percentage, if we scan through all the reports and the peer group, is not there at the moment. Although there is a drive and there is a focus for that, it's going to be like a consolidated effort, in my view, rather than any big bang approach. But I was reading a Gartner hype cycle report, and to the point which Andrew is mentioning, generative AI now is at the peak of expectations. So what I mean by that is the hype over generative AI or any of these tools is already now plateauing. So considering the fact that from a finance, we would also look at the return on investments. So many of these investments have not achieved returns. The same applies globally, the same applies to Indian setups as well. As a result, the latest trend is many of the big tech organizations are trying to market agentic AI because they think that that would generate revenues or scale up their revenue base. And agentic AI is promised that it will automate a lot of corporate related activities. So for if I just take the Indian context or the overall holistic context, yeah, there is a gap between the hype and the return on investment. It is catching up, but I think there is a journey in that direction.
Yeah, I fully agree. I think if you see, there's so much of excitement, but there's also equal amount of pessimism. So this is a paradox that you're seeing with AI. I think many studies have come which said 95% of the AI projects in any company fail. And where it works really well is not to improve the top line or to optimize cost, but I think in the back office space where there is a lot of mundane activities going on or repeated sets of activities going on, that's where AI has proven to be a bit more effective today. There's also cost associated with AI that not many of us speak quite openly, because I think any of these solutions should also eventually be adding value. And if you probably take the plain vanilla cost of the tokens, or let's say the things that you pay when you use AI, add on top of it compliance and then probably training people, etc., and then see the value case by comparing it to the benefits. Is it very profound? Maybe in a few cases, but not in every case. So you have to be taking those calculative steps to see, okay, I want to do this, but is it really making sense? Doing or trying AI for the sake of trying, if that sort of slack is available in the organization, great. But in this environment, I don't think any organization has that sort of a slack to probably just go ahead and experiment something. But there is a race.
No, I think there is two sets of view. There are companies in India which are MNCs, non-Indian parent.
Right.
They adapt AI and data analytics a lot more and faster because they see it as a value tool in future, like how big data became one of the critical things now for the business. But when you look into the Indian companies that are MNCs, parent being an Indian company, their first use of AI or data transformation tools is purely to bring efficiency to the mundane tasks. But they're not thinking, can it grow into a critical thinking? That's not the approach. If you have data, a bank of data, and imagine a non-ERP world, and you can do anything you want for your company in the way you want to do it, and that data stores there, finance can use numbers and operations data to relate it to the business and bring new scenarios, new decision models, new profit models. A different thinking can come. Are we ready as an Indian company to go there? Not yet, because I have cheap manpower available today, and I haven't become that costly yet. But if I see somebody else deriving more value, then they jump in. They are never the leaders, right? They are the followers. So they will only go when someone has proven it to be better than.
That's quite a challenge, isn't it?
Yes.
If you've got multiple industries relying on wage arbitrage to be competitive, suddenly they could find it all taken away because whoever's bought from them, because of the wage arbitrage, has managed to replace that with technology.
It's a psychological safety, right? I do this, then what happens to my job? Right.
So also the fear of being replaced.
The fear of being replaced.
You're digging your own grave if you start automating everything.
So you would only shun that fear when you are also keeping yourself up to date and becoming that niche person that cannot be replaced by AI.
But what we need to realize is this would become real. Meaning, do you want to be part of the future? Then probably this is the right time to start being, developing a little bit of familiarity with these technologies, because then that probably gives you a competitive advantage over others in the future. Because if you the farther you move away, the more you distance, the more is the likelihood of somebody or some skill set becoming a bit redundant in the future. So you have to master the art of playing with fire and control fire. I mean, in this case, it is technology, and so that you control fire, not the other way around, right?
Correct.
So there is a saying, your job won't be replaced by AI. It will be replaced by the person who's
yeah. And that's what happened recently. There was a very large MNC in India, which was considered a PSU in terms of the job safety. Thousands were recently made redundant, and that was that level which basically didn't embrace AI. So, yeah, definitely.
That's always been the case, hasn't it? People who don't embrace technology fall by the wayside, however good they were.
And agility, right? Technology is bound to change, and you have to be agile enough to keep yourself up to date with it. Today, 20 years ago, when I was studying, SAP was the hot cake. Then blockchain. Then tomorrow it's cloud computing, right? It's quantum computing. And I don't know if AI would replace everything else and GDI and AI will find some new way of doing things. I don't know. But am I ready to accept and change myself?
Yeah, so agentic AI was just seen as a concept probably towards later part of last year.
Right.
But as we go now, it's one of the hottest topic.
Correct.
And not only that, the innovations it has created, it's kind of given a lot of hope to especially both the IT companies and even from a value creation standpoint. Yes, the pace of change is happening on a real-time basis. So I think learning also has to be real-time, in my view. We can't just say, okay, I'll look at it, etc. So there needs to be that balance between learning and application, but yeah, it's more like
I think also accepting, you were talking about number of projects that succeed and fail. The reality is most projects, most ideas do fail. And we sort of accept that. We take the learning and we move on. We have stage gates for projects and we deliberately fail them if they're going to. And I think we should accept that for AI as well. It's not going to always work. But I think the way it's, because it's at the peak of that hype cycle, it doesn't work. What?
The difference I see between AI and humans is humans normally, if there is failure, they will shy away from it. But most of these AI models learn from their failures. So they keep on improvising and basis the feedback received. And that's why you have that like and unlike options and a lot of that feedback loop. So the more feedback, it keeps on improvising, and then it translates to reasoning and a lot of related things. So that's learning maybe humans can maybe learn from AI, that don't shy away from failure.
Right.
It's how do we use AI for the future rather than to recreate the past? Because if it's just recycling old information, all it's going to do is tell you what the best thing to do before was. Let me give you an example. When we were developing the new CIMA CGMA syllabus, we asked ChatGPT to design us a management accounting professional qualification. Lo and behold, it produced the 2019 CIMA syllabus for us, which sort of, thank you very much. Not only have you breached copyright, but you've also told us something we created 6 years ago. So it's quite, its ability to do that is phenomenal.
Right.
But the other things we've seen AI create an antibiotic in record time. That sort of thing usually takes years and years and years, and millions of investment. If it can do that, that is genuine advancement for humankind.
I would like to steer this conversation to the most important person in the organization, of course, besides the CEO, the CFO, who's the chief value architect today. The direction which the company takes in terms of adopting new tools, technologies, how to shape, the future strategy, again, is, at the hands of the CFO. If you were advising, from an Indian standpoint, if you're advising future leaders about core capabilities and competencies, what should they start building today in terms of skills and competencies?
I think in my view, an element of AI awareness is very essential at all levels of the organization, right from the CFO all the way his team, because we are moving towards a human AI collaboration. So that's going to be like a very important skill to have. Like qualifications like CIMA, for example, they are like international qualifications, so they definitely help to embodify a lot of this content. But yeah, I think in my view, that would be a number one skill.
What I would add is, I think there's no pure play finance role in the future, right? So it's what I was doing when I started my career. Definitely, my kids won't be doing it if they were going to have a career in finance when they start their career. So finance as a core skill is going to evolve a little bit, and it will have a few more, let's say, tentacles to it. Let's put it that way. So it's going to be in the space of fintech. There's going to be more and more overlap of finance and technology. That's what Mikhail was also trying to articulate. So that the skill sets that we need today is not to probably assume roles of controllers, compliance, but also people who do it in a fun and a fascinating way, innovative way. Typically, the element of innovation, my personal view, don't get me wrong, innovation in finance is a bit less compared to the rest of the organization. So we need to actually dial up the innovation, let's say, quotient. The other one is a little bit of entrepreneurial sort of a thinking is required in finance also, right? So we are also risk averse. Typically, when somebody asks me to do something when it comes to a project appraisal or probably investment decision, then I would probably first look at all the loopholes in the project and then probably think about the benefits. But then the original question that you started with is, how can we enable growth? For me to enable growth, I should be able to accept a level of risk. And am I aware of that risk levels that is okay for the organization, okay for the shareholders? And then probably just keep pushing. Okay, so if this is an opportunity, I want to just go ahead and grab it. So a little bit of entrepreneurial, little bit of, let's say, I think technology-oriented skill sets are required. That's how I would see financial.
I agree to both of them, just that there is a section of the world that how do I use digital footprint, how do I use transformation tools and data analytics to create models, build scenarios, work integrated with the operations to see things that they are facing. We have been very organized finance team. It's a structure that it's defined by IFRS, it's defined by something else, it's defined by how I am educated. But if you are defining yourself with what you have been learning and not what you have to learn from around you, competition for me, giving an example, an automotive competition is not inside the automotive world anymore today. Automotive world is having competitors coming from non-automotive field. And this is not a competition I have ever foreseen. And it's the same with data, tech, everybody, right? Commodities. Nobody expected some of the companies to wash away, right? They are nowhere. They were the key players, but technology changed so quickly, and you have to.
Great point. Andrew, how do you see the role of a CFO changing?
I've been fascinated to listen to what everyone's been saying. So you've triggered a whole load of thoughts. I've actually been building a new model of CFO in my head. The ability, what you were talking about, the ability to scan the horizon and have your head up and see the world. It's absolutely critical. And I think there are a number of things that sit at that top level. The ability to do that, the ability to persuade, to influence, to present with impact, all of those things. We then have the other stuff, which is, those things are relatively constant. If you can do that, that's going to serve you for your life. Then you have the things that change fast. So, if I'm a CFO, what am I interested in? Well, last year I'd probably have taken a deep dive into ESG. And I'd have grasped that because that's going to be something I'm going to have to deploy. And I may well be starting to forget that now. This year, and probably each year, I'm going to do a day-long dive into AI and where that's going, because that's going to change we've seen, agentic AI 6 months, everyone's talking about it now. Agentic AI is last year's thing. So you're going to be dipping into stuff and dipping out of it, which is the learn, unlearn, relearn. And that cycle has moved really fast. So if you like, there's the top level skills which you're going to need and will be with you forever. And then there's the stuff you have to dive into and dive out of. And you're almost doing that to lead a project or to lead a change. And that's going to be changed. That's my model.
Thank you, Andrew. Great insights, everybody. Thank you so much, everybody. It's been a fantastic time talking to all of you and getting your insights and inputs on what will shape the future of finance. As I understand that finance is just beyond numbers in the future. It's not just going to be about reporting. It's not going to be about transaction-oriented R2R or P2P, but it's going to be more about critical thinking. And what's really going to move the needle is basically the ability to take risks, right? Understand the environment, upskilling, reskilling, like Andrew said, learn, unlearn, and relearn. And of course, the ability to pivot, be more agile. Thank you, everybody. It's been just fantastic talking to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. It's been absolutely fantastic talking to this esteemed panel, and we'll keep doing this as a series. Watch out for episode 3 for more information and insights about the future of finance in 2030 and beyond. Thank you.